Record. All right, there we go. I wanted to congratulate everybody who made the decision to be on this call and to join this group. And those who have already done your homework and posted the homework, that is fantastic, because that's what it takes, is getting into action. You know, we can spend so much time learning and listening to podcasts and going to trainings and writing our why and, you know, really getting into personal development, but it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't go anywhere until we start acting on it. We start making it a part of our actual DNA. And the more we get into action to do the things that we're learning, the sooner it becomes a part of us, the more we build our belief. And as we do those things, we change our identity. And a lot of the time, what I found, and it might not be the case for everybody, but I feel like in a large percentage of the people who are doing the actions, who have been a part of Isagenix for a while, or even if you're brand new and you've been learning the steps, you've been doing the steps and nothing is happening, I believe that a lot of that has to do with your own personal opinion of yourself, your own identity. And you know, even though you might leave an event thinking, I can do this, I can do everything, and you go home and your old voices start to speak to you, and you might not even know they're going on. They start to take over and run the show. And because we're showing up here, we have this belief of, well, a lack of belief, actually. Then when we are getting into action, our identity wins, and we get what we think about, we get what we focus on, we get what we believe. And if we don't believe we're worth being successful, if we don't believe people are going to listen to us, if we don't believe people are going to follow us, if we don't believe we have the ability to be that leader, if we're putting ourselves below anybody, comparing ourselves to people, that a lot of times is what shows up. And it doesn't matter what our action is, because the energy we're sending out is what we're getting back, which is more of the same. So my whole program, because of what my life has been, my experiences have been, the things I've learned and studied and put into practice, I have felt my identity change, and I know the difference in my own life. So combining this voice program that I've created because of what I've learned and been taught and what I've done with the Isagenix steps, I feel like could be a really great way for us to get the ball rolling and to actually get the what do they say, where the rubber meets the road, and you actually start taking off and going somewhere instead of just spinning our wheels and pretending like we're working and getting frustrated that nothing is happening. So I wanted to just show you, I'm going to turn my screen over and I'll go back and forth. And I'm not necessarily a master of smooth screen switching, so you'll get to see my whole process, which is fine. I'm not worried about it. Let's see. Let me see my desktop, share screen, go to my PowerPoint. Okay, so my program is based on finding your voice, and I'm not even going to worry about going full screen, just let you see this. VOICE is an acronym for all the steps that it takes, I believe, to change our identity and to really become who we're meant to be. And the steps are in order because that spells the word voice, but they don't happen in order. Like, we don't do V and then check it off and move to O. They all have to happen sequentially. And in fact, I don't believe that the V, the finding the value in who we are, can really happen until we've been doing all of the other steps. And that value in who we are begins to increase, and our ability to express that voice starts to increase as we go. But V stands for value. Broken into two pieces. It's knowing what our core values are. And that worksheet that we had as our pre-homework helped us to really tap into what are those things that I believe in? What are those things that I stand for, that are non-negotiable for me, that are going to get me out of bed every morning, that I would fight for if I were put in a position where I needed to either stand up or step down? What are the things that are going to keep me standing up, even if it's scary? It's even our Covey, I believe, that has a metaphor of an I-beam. And if there was an I-beam that was across the Grand Canyon, what would we cross that for? Would we cross it for $10? You know, an I-beam is just, a few inches. And would we be willing to balance and walk across that for like $10? Would we be willing to do that for $1 million? What if it was for our children? What if there was our child being held over there, you know, and if you don't get over here, I'm going to drop her off? You know, what would get us across the I-beam? What are those beliefs that we are so firm in that it doesn't matter what faces it, we're going to stand up for it? And sometimes we have those values and we don't act in accordance with those values. They're still there. They're still important to us. They might make us cry. And sometimes because of fear, most of the time because of fear, or just a lack of really cluing in and knowing what those beliefs are, we don't act in accordance or in harmony with our core values, and that leads to doubt in ourselves. It leads to anxiety. It can lead to depression. All of those things, they give us chaos in our brain. So it's getting all of those things in alignment. The next part of value is finding value in who you are. And I'll just show you here. And it's broken into several different pieces, but there are certain gifts, certain dynamics in our own personality and our own temperament is what I call it, that don't change. Like I believe, and it's spoken by several other people that I look up to, people that are mentors in my life, people that I've read, and it just resonates with me that we are all spiritual beings first, and we have existed for who even knows how long, like an eternity of time already. And we came to this earth and have this body, but our spirits are here, and those spirits have certain qualities. They have certain core motivations, certain core gifts that don't change. And there's 4 different categories of people and temperament types. And then we come in and to the world, and we're born into a family, and we're born into an environment. And because of the experiences that we have and the way we process them through our temperament type, those begin to form the way we react or respond to our environment, and they form our personality. And so really understanding, though, the core of that temperament and who we really are as a spiritual being, I believe is very essential. It's been essential for my own growth because it's helped me to understand who I am. It's helped me to embrace my gifts. And a lot of my gifts I didn't realize were gifts. And so because of my environment, I had processed them incorrectly, and they became weaknesses to me. And I say weaknesses in air quotes because every temperament is beautiful. Every gift is beautiful. When we don't recognize what our gifts are, or we look at them from other people's eyes and we feel like they're amazing here and all I have is this, and it looks like weakness maybe, we start to live in that. And when I first was introduced to my own temperament type, I did not want to even believe that was who I was because I looked at everything as a weakness. But when I really began to embrace that was who I am and see those things as strengths, that's when I really started to move forward and to turn things into strengths. And that's when I've really been able to become, well, as David Wood puts it, fall madly in love with myself, which we're still in that progress, but I'm a lot further on the high end of the spectrum than I used to be. So we're going to talk about both of those kinds of values, and we're going to really discover who we are, because there's this quote that I was given, 15 years ago that says, I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am who I think that you think I am. Which basically is saying it's our perceptions of what we think people are thinking about us that really bring us to how we act, how we show up. And when we can learn to change those perceptions, to let go of what we think people are thinking, and just to really know solidly, with no doubt, who we are, what's important to us, that's when we really can start to be powerful. So we're going to spend a lot of time working on our value of who we are, on the V of us. So just to summarize value, and I'm just giving you what this program looks like as a big overview, and then we'll get to the action steps for this week, just so you can kind of see what it is we're going to be working on every time. And all of the homework is going to be based on this value, on this voice. So value is your core values. Those are your motivation center. It's your internal guidance system. You can connect to that. Our emotions are an internal guidance system, and they really can guide us to who we are and what our gifts are if we listen. A lot of times they're not congruent with our behavior. They're handed to us by our caregivers, our peers, our culture, etc. And then the most important is just really understanding the value of who you are and learning that when you learn that, it lets you to stop comparing, and because comparison is the thief of joy. When we compare ourselves with other people, that's when we really start to doubt who we are. And so the more we strengthen our value, the less comparison we do, and the more we're just able to own it and speak our voice. So the next step is O. And I do this as an archway because I believe that when we find our voice, that's the gateway into our dreams. So this castle here just is a representation of whatever your dreams are. So what are your dreams? What are your goals with Isagenix and with your life? They are through the gate, and so we're establishing this gateway. So the next is just being open to new experiences, to new ideas, and really allowing them to sink in. We hear a lot of talk about our comfort zone, and when we're willing to step out of our comfort zone and get a little bit uncomfortable, that actually is my favorite place to be. It's getting to be uncomfortable, almost not just a little bit uncomfortable, but a lot of it uncomfortable is my favorite place to be right now, because when we're open to expanding our understanding of ourselves and our world around us, that's when we start to challenge our old beliefs and our old paradigms, and those things expand our comfort zone. So this comfort zone actually grows, and we are able to do a lot more things and just be a lot more confident the more we step out of our comfort zone and stretch and create a brand new comfort zone. So that starts with being open, listening to ideas and being willing to do the homework, being willing to, even if I don't understand why I'm doing the homework, even if it feels like, I don't need to write it down, I've got it all up here, that kind of a thing. Just being open to doing it the way that you're told to do it. And by doing that, you'll be able to figure out the way that works for you. But start by just trusting and doing it, even if you don't want to, especially if you don't want to. So that's openness. The next one is intention. And intention doesn't work unless we have action to go with it. So I'm going to set an intention because I was open, I heard a new idea, I'm going to set an intention, and then I'm actually going to act on that intention, because intentions, I think Brandy Travis sings the song, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so we will stay in a state of chaos and disorganization and depression and just a state of hell in our minds if we're setting intentions and not doing anything about it. That, again, goes back to that chaos of believing one thing and doing something different. So action, and that, to me, that's the keystone. That's the part that holds us all together. If we don't do the actions, then it doesn't matter if we have our foundation here, because it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be stuck inside of us. Our voice will never be spoken if we're not acting. This is what brings the DNA, it brings the ideas into our actual system. It becomes a part of who we are, literally. It actually changes our DNA and the way it's being expressed. And I can get into the science of that some other time, not right now, but it's so cool. It's like actual real life science. It's not just an idea. It's not just it sounds like it would be a nice idea. It's real. So intention to act also, all the best things in life are found outside of your comfort zone, and you can only experience them if you first set an intention, which is actually making a decision. And if we say we've decided, but then we're wishy-washy about actually getting into action, then we haven't really decided. Like, once you make a decision, it's happening, and there's nothing that's going to stop you. So sometimes we say, I made this decision, and then we don't do it, then have we really made a decision? So getting really open with yourself, getting really clear with yourself, and being honest with yourself. Have I really decided, or do I still not really know what I want? Or am I still, am I not willing to change my behaviors and my thoughts in order to have what I want? And if I'm not willing to, then do I really want that? And if I don't really want that, then what do I want? So it's just getting really clear and really honest with yourself, and then really acting on it. And that takes courage. And that's what I'm all about. That's what I'm out loud about on Facebook, is doing something that scares me every single day. And it's changed who I am. It's changing me still. It's like, I'm not kidding you when I say, when I first stepped out of my comfort zone almost 6 years ago on David Woods Island in Belize, my world brightened up. Like, it literally, the colors brightened in front of my eyes. I can't even explain how that's possible, but it did. And I took a breath for the first time in a long time. Like, I've been breathing enough to stay alive, but that's it. I was surviving, and that's it. But I took a breath that I had not felt or had not taken maybe ever in my whole life, honestly. And I just knew I didn't want to stop feeling like that. And so I started craving that breath, and I got really addicted to that feeling that's on the other side of fear. That's my intention for this group and for you, is to get addicted to that feeling that's on the other side of fear. And this is a good addiction because it's going to help us become who we are. So I love Brene Brown's definition of courage. The actual root of the word courage is ka, which means heart. And in one of its earliest forms, the word courage had a very different definition than it does today. Today we look at heroes, we look at Superman, people that are willing to do brave things like leap tall buildings in a single bound, and we think that's what courage is. Courage really was meant to speak one's mind by telling all that's on your heart, like letting your heart be seen, really allowing yourself to desire something and to go for those desires, because those desires are a part of who you are and who you're meant to be. They are real, and they are telling you, they're your guidance system. This is who you're meant to be. This is how you're going to make a difference in the world. All of us have the desire. Bob Proctor says this, and I believe it. Every single person on this earth wants to help other people. We all want to do good in the world. We all want to be that. But if that's the only thing that we say, like when my why, I want to help people, what does that even mean? It doesn't really mean anything unless we get it into our heart and we really get to the core of what it is that we want. What are our desires? Because those desires lead us to our gifts. And those gifts are how we make a difference in the world. When we first own our gifts and then develop our gifts and then share our gifts, that's how we make a difference in the world. That's how we help people. But if we're just saying, I want to help people without even knowing what it is that we want, there's no way that's going to happen. So the last two are clearing, which is basically clearing out our old ideas and replacing them with new ideas. Our old identity, replacing it with a new identity. And a lot of times clearing actually is a physical thing. Clearing out all of our clutter, because our clutter represents what's in our mind. And when we can clear our space, we can really see clearly what it is that we are wanting, and we can feel good in our space. And so we're going to do physical clearing and emotional clearing in this group. And then expression. If we figure out who we are and we start acting on our fears and we get more courage, but we don't ever speak our voice, we don't ever show up, we don't ever tell everybody, what it is that we're doing, if we don't make our phone calls and, share IsaGenics with people, then what does it even matter? Like if we know who we are, but we aren't willing to be that, why know it? Because that's, again, going to create more anxiety because you know who you are and you're refusing to be it. So expression is that final cornerstone. Like it needs to happen just as much as value needs to happen. Expression needs to happen to really have a voice to speak that's strong. So how does that look as far as IsaGenics goes? Where did I go? First, I want to go back to the homework. So we did our core values worksheet, and I saw that several of you did it and posted it. And there were a few that I saw that did say, and some of them were covered. I couldn't read them all. But knowing what your core values were, and then also filling out your sheet in your 90-day action plan of what your why is. And then it asks you again, so why do you want that? And then after you know what is it, now why do you want that? And it was really getting you to get clear, like I was saying. If you have this why to help people, why do you want that? What does that even mean for you? And getting so clear on what it is that you want. And that's what those questions were doing. And I still saw that when people got to the end, it was like, I want to help people. I want to help people. I want to change their health. Well, why? And to me, that's not a real answer. Like it has to be something that starts with you. So when you get to, I'm going to switch the screen here really quick to the action plan. My crystal clear why. So why was it that you started IsaGenics for you? Like you didn't go to a home party or somebody introduced IsaGenics to you. I really don't believe that the reason you bought the product, and maybe I'm wrong, but was it so that you could just immediately help other people? Probably not. There was probably a health issue that you were experiencing, or there was a financial issue. There was something, a problem that you had that IsaGenics solves for you, that you decided, not only do I want this product, but I want to share it with other people. I want to do it as a business. There was some pain point, which the pain point is what shows you what you want. When you know what you don't want, then you figure out what you want. So why did you join IsaGenics, and why was that important to you? And then again, why was that important to you? So is there somebody that wants to share? Let me switch the screen back. Is there somebody that wants to share what you came up with as your why you want to do an isogenics business? It says crystal clear why. Is there somebody that wants to share that knows what it is? You can unmute yourself. If not, I'll just call on someone. This is about action and accountability, and so I will still, Michelle, awesome.
Okay, so it's taken me a long time to get here, figure out my why, but I want good health. I want to be, my why is to be a good example to my children, not only in my personal health and well-being, but also, and financial wealth, but just be a good example in following through, and also helping others, because helping others is a big part of my why. So there's several things that feed into it, but that's why. And it didn't start out that way, like you said. When I first started isogenics, my why was basically to survive, because I wasn't living, and I was barely even surviving in my life. And I'm we'll get a little bit emotional, but I'm just very, very grateful for what isogenics, the products have done. But now that I've implemented those, just all of the programs that are available, the community that's out there, everything is available for us. We just need to step into it and with intention and act. And I've learned, and I'm still continuing to learn, and I'm still continuing to do that, set my intention and following through. But my why is I want to be an example to my children of success.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you some questions. So what does it mean to be an example to your children of success? What is success to you?
To me, success is following through, is, having that intention, setting those goals, and following through and completing what I set out to do. And then, of course, moving on to the next thing.
Okay.
You don't just stop.
Yeah, progression. So Earl Nightingale says that success is the progression toward a worthy ideal. So what is your worthy ideal? Do you know? What is it that you want? Like what does success mean to you? Definition, a little definition. We're getting to the micro definition here.
Good health and financial wealth and helping people.
Okay.
Because with my good health and with financial wealth, I can do more for others and for me.
And for you. Yay. And what are those things for you? What does that physical health give you? And you might want to look to what you said before. You were just surviving, right? You wanted to survive. So what's the difference between then and now, and what does that do for you? Like, what does successful health look like for you?
The first thing that comes to my mind is freedom.
Freedom from what?
Freedom to do the things that I've always wanted to do. Freedom to be active, freedom to be outside, freedom to spend time with my family and friends, the freedom to serve, the freedom, I don't know, to be strong.
Okay.
And to move forward. So that was the first word that came to my mind, was freedom.
Awesome. So was there something in that being able to be outside and be active and to be strong that you didn't have before isogenics that you do have now? Oh,
absolutely. I was a prisoner, if that makes any sense. I was a prisoner. I don't know where I went. This is a new camera thing, so
awesome.
I need to tape it to the computer. Anyways, yeah, I didn't have that freedom before. I didn't. I was a prisoner in my mind. I've been a prisoner in my body, Therefore, I haven't gone outside. I was a prisoner in my home. And so I was a prisoner, a victim. And I have moved so far out of that. I'm not completely out of it yet, but boy, I'm almost there, because that sometimes when something happens, I go back to that, but it's just for that long. And I'm so grateful and excited even for that. I'm just so excited. So freedom.
So, because I know that you did have a freedom, or I mean, you found some freedom to go be active, and then you had it taken away for a little while, right?
Yeah.
Breaking your leg, and how did that feel?
When I first broke my foot, I was actually excited. I was like, oh my gosh, a higher quality challenge. I'm up for this. I can do this. I'm so excited. And then I had surgery and took some pain pills just for 3 days. And I'm telling you what, it sent me into a depression. And so for about a month, I really thought that I can't, because I was non-weight bearing and I couldn't do any of the things I wanted to do. So I went back to victimhood. I couldn't go out to my barn for 2 months. I have horses, I couldn't see my horses. And that was really, really hard. I couldn't spend time with my granddaughter, whom I spend a whole day once a week with my granddaughter since she was born, and she's 3 years old, and I haven't been able to do that. And so I went back into victimhood, and it was really stinky. It was not fun at all. And so I've been able to, rather than staying there, it did take me a month to come out of it really fully. So I still was non-weight bearing, because I was non-weight bearing for 8 weeks almost. And so yeah, all of this knowledge and the health and the nutrition and even the exercise that I was able to do before. I actually started exercising before I guess I was weight bearing at 6 weeks. And at about when they told me I could put weight on my foot with the boot on, I went back to the gym.
See, awesome. So the point I wanted to bring out there, and did you see when you got all emotional? So when you had your freedom and then you lost it, and that's why I thought it would be really good to bring it up, because sometimes we don't have that experience of having it and then losing it. Like, we just don't have it, and we want it, but sometimes we just don't really know what it is that we want. But as I got asking you your questions, you got emotional when you started talking about not being able to spend time with your horses and not being able to spend time with your granddaughter. So for you, those are 2 key motivations for you right now. Is to be outside, be with your horses, to be free to ride them, and also to spend time with your granddaughter. So those are key important points to you that I don't know if they align with your core values. You can go back and look at that. But those will keep you motivated. It kept you motivated enough to get out of your victim mode and to get outside and to start doing it. That's the kind of stuff we're looking for when you're getting to your why, something that gets you like that. So sometimes we look at what we don't want, what we have right now in our life that I do not want. What is it that's frustrating the heck out of me? What is it that when I'm in victim mode, what do I complain about? And then switch it. So that helps me know what it is that I do want. And when I know what I want, and I want it just as badly as I don't want it, does that make sense? As I don't want the opposite, that's when I really start to get into motion and get into action. So that's going to be a lot of what we dig into, and there'll be a lot of questions. I'll be asking the question a lot, why? And that's something I want everybody to get into the habit of doing, is asking yourself why. So I'm going to start my calendar. I'm going to start my to-do list. Why am I doing these things? Why am I doing them in the first place? What is it that I want? Am I doing them just because Susan Sly does it? Am I doing it because, my homework says to? But why am I doing it? Because if you're doing it for an outside reason, it's not going to mean anything to you when it gets hard.
Right.
When, your health changes, or when you find out something about your kids that puts you into a big funk, or something like that. When something goes wrong in your environment, if it's not something if you don't know why you want to do it, you won't do it. And then you become really frustrated with yourself. I should say this in an I become frustrated with myself when I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it. And then it just puts me in a funk and a depression, and then I quit doing it, or I just stay stuck. But when I know why I want to do it, I do it anyway. I might have a moment where I get into, And David Wood always says, set a timer, go and wallow for a second, go play victim if you want to, because sometimes as human beings, maybe even especially as women, we have to have that moment of, I've earned this right to feel miserable, so let me just feel miserable for 10 minutes, set my alarm. When the alarm goes off, stop it and get moving forward, right? Well, thank you for sharing with us, Michelle.
Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I hope that helped everybody to see why we ask these questions and why they asked you that question 4 or 5 times. Why do you want that? Why do you want that? Why? Get to the core of it, because that's what's going to drive you. So awesome. I'm going to go back and share the screen again. Oh, I don't want the recovery. Let's see. All right, so here I have, and these were on that core values worksheet as well. When we just are doing things, these can represent to-do lists or all the activities or all the roles that you play, and you're just doing them because someone said you had to, or because that's just the way your life is. You know, I have this that I do for church, this that I do for my family, this that I do for kids, this that I do for my community, this is, you know, I have to keep my house clean, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just doing them because they're there to do. It looks like chaos, and it actually feels like chaos. It feels really awful inside. But when I can get everything in alignment, so here's who I am, this is what I want, this is what drives me, this is what my core beliefs are, this is who I am, my core temperament, whoops, my mouse is really touchy, I guess. And then I align everything I do around that. It feels better. Like if you see a microscope, I mean a magnifying glass, and it has the sun in the center, it actually creates, you can light a fire with that. And that's what we're wanting to do, is to light a fire inside of us every single day. So there might be some activities that you haven't figured out how to align them yet. That's why I have one out here, because it's not going to be perfect all the time. But the closer we can get to this alignment, the more effective we are in our actions. So I compare it to, we all talk about, you know, is your glass half full or half empty? And we all feel like if my glass is half full, just by saying that it's half full instead of half empty, then I'll be successful because I'm grateful. And I'm, you know, and that's true. Gratitude is actually going to be a key step in the value piece. However, we can't just say that and have it be real. We actually have to be that. So I've found that by knowing who I am, that instead of having to run around and have people, please fill my glass half full for me, you know, running around catching the raindrops that are falling from the sky to keep my glass half full, I actually have found this fountain within myself, that I have tapped into the source of all happiness, all dreams, all power, which I believe is God, that I found my wellspring. Like I've drilled down into the ground, I found the well, and I'm tapping into the source, and it's coming up through me. And now I get to be the source. I can be any fountain that I want to be. I can be this nice little calm garden fountain, or I can be the Bellagio if I want to be, because I've tapped into the source. So it can look lots of different ways. I don't have to look like everybody else, but I do have to tap into that same source, which is actually unique for you, but it still comes from inside of you. Does that make sense? Just nod your head if it makes sense. So that's what we're doing. We're tapping into that source, and all these questions, all of these activities are to strengthen that wellspring so that you don't have to go and catch raindrops from everybody else. You can be your own fountain, and that's how you help the world. Like, look at this picture here. How do I bring it forward? This one, I mean, they're all in the fountain together, right? So they're enjoying it together. It's sharing. This is how you share with people. When you're the fountain and you can sprinkle the water on people when they're hot and frustrated and, you know, parched, you can be the source, the fountain. That's how you help people. But first you have to tap in, to that wellspring. And there's needs that we have to meet. I'm not going to go into this a ton, but before we can get up here where we're helping people, we have to actually be able to provide for ourselves first. So that's all it means. So this is like knowing what it is that I need, that I'm lacking, knowing it is that I want, being able to really get there, then I can do this person that helps other people. But if I'm going to try and serve somebody, if I'm going to give you a gift, Heather, if I hand you a golden package that's wrapped all beautifully, you're so excited to open it, you open it and there's nothing inside, is that going to be exciting or disappointing? So I know that as a mom, like when I thought that I loved my kids, but they weren't receiving it because I didn't have anything to give them, it doesn't mean anything until you have something to give. So tapping into what you want first is really important. So again, how do we tie that into isogenics? We looked at our core values and we did our business goals. I would like you to, after this call, just to look at them again. And does your why that you came up with, does it actually tap you from the inside of you? I want it to sound selfish. It's not selfish. It's not at all. But I want it to be something that you want, that makes you cry, like we just saw Michelle do when she was talking about her horses and being with her grandbaby. Is it something like that? And when it's there, then you're onto something. And we're going to keep revisiting it. And then your goals. Okay, are those goals really your goals, or are they somebody else's goals that you think you should have? I really want you to get clear on that. But after we do that, now we're going to look at back into the 90-day action plan. First, though, do we have any questions? Like, just raise your hand or unmute yourself and start talking. Heather?
I do have a question.
Okay.
And since I know that we're all connected, I'm sure that I'm not the only person in the world with this question, so I will ask it. All right, so going back to the hierarchy of needs.
Mm-hmm.
When we are going to click on, thank you. Oh, thank you. Okay. So when we are trying to make sure that we're meeting our basic needs, like if that's what needs to be met right now, and yet we're still having to give and do all these other things, like I want to know, where's that balance? So for example, like right now with my business, I know sharing from love and gratitude and all of that, that's going to be the most powerful thing. I have to be sharing from a place of authenticity and knowing that this is going to be blessing and benefiting other people. However, if I'm in that bottom category of needing, safety, security, food, rest, all of those things, if those needs are needing to be met, and it's like financial needs through my business, how do I have that balance of like living that higher law while still trying to fulfill these lower basic needs? Does that make sense?
It does. I hope I can answer it. Well, I think when we get a little bit, like in another couple screens, it might even answer it a little bit better. Because we're not just single focused people. We're not just, we're not one faceted. Like we're, especially women, we're multifaceted people. We have so many different needs and responsibilities and roles, and it does need to come from, there is the law of compensation. So there's not only just one law either. There's not only one important thing to do and to focus on. However, when we get to a point of being overwhelmed, that is when we're out of balance. So I may have a desire to help other people, but does it have to be in giving them something that I don't have? Like an example of, I need food for my family, and I see that people over here, if I were to give them free shake, they might join my business. And so I'm going to give them everything that I have, take away my own needs, so that I'm giving them something. Well, first of all, giving somebody a fish doesn't really do much for them. Also, if you're telling them that this is going to change their life, but your life isn't changed, are you in integrity as well? So, there does need to be giving, and the compassion doesn't ever leave. And I really feel like a lot of the answer is in the gratitude for it. So if I'm feeling grateful for everything I have right now, that increases my value in myself. It helps me to increase my ability to believe what I have to offer. Because a lot of times we're giving from our belief, which is great as long as our belief continues to progress us as well. But if we have this belief that's keeping us stuck because it's bigger than what we have to give, does that make sense? There's got to be, when we get to a place of overwhelm, or if we get to a place when I'm not sleeping at all because I'm so passionate about sharing this with people, are we coming from a place of scarcity? And, you know, if I don't give all of my hours to giving to people, then I'm going to run out of time. You know, that's like coming from a place of scarcity, but knowing that there's an abundance of time, there's an abundance of food, there's an abundance of whatever, and coming from there, and also just being wise. I think when you get to a place of overwhelm, I think that we know we're off balance somewhere. So am I giving more than I have? I really think it's a personal check-in, and I will look for a better answer. I don't know if that helps or if that clarifies, or somebody else has something that they want to share that you're thinking of too. Does that help at all, Heather, or did it make you more confused? Yeah, there is a balance, and it's going to be found really by getting into action. And when I'm at the end of the day and I'm frustrated, or you know, then let me look at my day. Where was I off balance? Did I spend enough time in personal development? Did I make sure that I fed my body? Did I make sure that I fed my kids? You know, did I make sure that all those needs were happening, or was I doing so much over here that I forgot about that part, or vice versa? Maybe I'm spending too much time on myself and it's keeping me stuck in my stuff. And it's not like, how did Susan Slide put it? She said it, I wish I would have written it down now. I posted this podcast today in the group that I listen to that I really recommend that if you have time in your personal development time to listen to, because it was really amazing. But she said something like, I'll just say it in my words. I mean, action is the catalyst. That's where we're going to get from. It keeps us in energy. If we're not in action, our energy goes down. Tony Robbins said that too in at Celebration. If you guys were there, he said, let me find it. Let's see. Maybe I won't find it right now because I'm looking for it. It's not, let's see, no. Anyway, it's just basically, if we're not in action, I'll find it and I'll post it because it was right here. Now it's not there because I'm looking. If we're spending all of our time in thinking about our wants and in doing personal development and listening to podcasts and learning how to do it and getting ready to get ready, and we're not in action, we're off balance this way. If we're spending all of our time in action and we're not allowing ourselves to connect to our wants and our, you know, needs and filling our own cup, then we're off balance this way. So it's finding a balance, and I can't tell you exactly what that balance is for you, but your internal guidance system will. So if you're feeling off, then there is something off, if that makes sense. All right, and I think the more we go through it and the more we really are just putting the rubber to the road, I really feel like you'll be able to answer that question with complete clarity because that's your question. Does that make sense? Okay. So we're gonna look at the next few pages of the 90-day action plan. That is, starts with, we're gonna create a business schedule that fits your life. So a lot of times we think, okay, I'm gonna do this business. I mean, how many of you, maybe I'm the only one, but you leave an event and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing and I'm gonna make 1,000 calls every single day and I'm gonna spend all my time and I'm gonna follow up. I'm just gonna do everything they say. So we fill out this calendar of isogenics and we forget that we also have life at home. And then we come home to life and we're like, oh yeah, I was gonna do 75 million calls a day. I'm obviously exaggerating. And shoot, though, I gotta take care of my family. I gotta go to work. I've got, you know, this responsibility and this responsibility. And so we're gonna create a schedule that fits your life. So when you look at your schedule, and on page of the 90, let's see. There is this right here. When you look at your schedule, what time does your day start? If yours starts at 6 a.m., great. If it starts at 4 a.m., you know, make more lines. If it starts at 7 a.m., block off that time because you're sleeping at this time, so it's not available, right? If you need your sleep, then sleep. If you don't need your sleep, consider getting up an hour early. And if you don't know if you really need your sleep, if you think you need your sleep, try getting up an hour earlier and see how that works for you. But I can't tell you what time to wake up. I can tell you that for me, getting up early and starting my day early is way more effective for me than if I sleep in till 9. I lose my morning. I get confused. I get ornery. I just get off track. So I have to get up early. But the reason I know that is because I started getting up early to try it. So I will challenge you, if that's a thing, just to try it. However, I know some people that don't function if they don't get enough sleep. They just can't function. So it's got to be what you need. This is your schedule. This is your life, not mine, not Susan Sly's, not even Kathy Cooper can tell you how to do your schedule. She can give you the guidelines on how to create your schedule, which she has done. So first you're gonna mark out your off limits time. So this is your personal time. How much time do you need to get into your state? How much time do you need to study? How much time do you need to listen to podcasts? How much time do you need to exercise? How much time do you need, that? I promise you it's not, in fact, Kathy says 20% of your time, and this is your business time actually, but I think for personal development, it can be 20% of, well, you can decide. I think an hour is sufficient a day. That's it. Some of us spend hours and hours and hours and we say, I'm working so hard, but really if you look at what you're doing, you're studying, you're reading, you're learning, you're listening to podcasts, you're dreaming, but you're not working. So 80%, anyway, we'll get to this. The business time is 80% is working, getting into action. 20% is personal development. So, but that time needs to be marked off because that personal time needs to be non-negotiable or you won't have anything to give. So mark it off and don't let anybody get in that time. I mean, if you have a sick baby or something, that's different. And then you can find a way to fit it in later in the day. But other than that, this is your time. And you don't need to tell anybody, like, oh, I can't do it at that time because that's my personal time. Because all of a sudden you feel selfish. You're thinking, oh, no, now they're going to think I'm being selfish. No, you just say, I have an appointment. I have a non-negotiable appointment at that time. Do you have this time or this time available, right? They don't need to know what's on your calendar. It doesn't matter to them. It matters to you. So mark that off. And then your family time comes next. That is valuable time. If you're doing this business for your family, but you're not including family time in your calendar every single day, are you really doing it for your family? Right? And your community. And if you don't have a family, I mean, you've got friends that are like your family, but there's people in your life that matter to you. They need to be scheduled into your calendar. And then you have community responsibilities. Maybe you have church responsibilities or community council or PTA or whatever it is. Those responsibilities, things that you have committed to do, those need to be blocked out of your schedule. And then from there you can say, oh, okay, this is my business time now. So now I think she even has a picture of it. Maybe not in this book. It's in my book. I have an old book. Anyway, she has a picture of her calendar and it just says, this is my business time. She has it blocked out. Oh, here it is. Right here. That's her business time. But how many hours do you have? You really need to be clear with yourself. How many hours can I give to my business? It doesn't matter if you can give 8 hours or 2 hours, or maybe even some days you can only give 1 hour. But what are you going to do with that hour? That's what matters. So you need to decide for you, and don't worry about what anybody else's calendar looks like. But block it off. And then once you've done that, then you go to your business time. You're only looking at that business time. So let's say you have 2 hours a day. Let's look at just that time. 80% of that time needs to be done in income-producing activities. 20% is personal and team development. So 20% is learning about the promotions. 20% is reaching out to your team and saying congratulations, or, and what can I help you with today? Or that's 20% of your time. The rest of it needs to be done in income-producing activities, and you will not produce income, and you will not go anywhere. You'll get discouraged, depressed, and you won't be able to be an example to your team. Does that make sense? You need to be doing the do if you want to be an example to your team. If you want to help people, you've got to do it. So 80% of that. So income-producing activities are then, what are those? Who wants to tell me some income-producing activities?
Follow up.
Awesome. Follow up. But before you follow up, what do you have to do?
You have to call people, talk to people, open your mouth.
Have an initial contact. That's awesome. And then
send tools. Yeah, send tools.
Say that again, sorry.
Send tools to people, post on Facebook.
Yes.
Gosh, say hello to people, just a genuine connection.
Yes. Show up and speak to people, right? Yeah. If I'm going to build this business and I stay home all the time and I don't do social media, then is that going to help me? You don't have to do social media, but you do have to talk to people. So however you talk to people works. So we're going to look at the whole voice thing. So if I'm open, so V, we've been talking about V most of the time. If I'm open then to talking to people, what does that look like? Well, one of the things they suggest is to create a list of 100 people. So are we going to just think it in our mind? Because I don't really need to write it down. I don't need to write my list. I mean, I know like 5 people, so I'll just talk to those people. And then, oh, I don't know any more people. No, sit down and write down a list of 100 people. And there's actually a trigger that I'm going to post. There's, let's see, do I have it here? No, when I went into one, it went off of the other. But I'll post it in the group. Oh, actually, I know where it is. Hold on. I'll show you. Sorry. Move this out of the way so I can see. I don't know if I even saved it in a way I can find it again now. This. If this isn't it, then that's okay. I'll just, yeah, who do you know? Wow, that's really big. This gives you triggers on how you can make your list of 100 people. It asks you questions. Who do you know who's health conscious? Blah, blah, blah. Who do you know who's a network marketer, who's a teacher, who's a physician? Who do you see at the fitness club, at the spa, the golf club, the tennis club, the hair salon, at the school, at the daycare, at the bank? You know, go through and just write all of those things. And here's a place for you to write your list. It only gives you a place for, I don't know how many that is, 20, but a list of 100 will keep you in business and keeping that list of 100 going. Let's see.
Hey, Carrie.
Uh-huh.
Carrie, this is Laura. You know, I was on the line with my team just, when was it, Monday night, and we were talking about making our lists, and you know, what we learned from Eric Worre and the power in writing it down. And you know, because one of my team members said, well, someone said I could go and print off my Facebook list, and that's great, but that's where it's like writing it down. I mean, I was saying I literally close my eyes and I think of phases in my life. And I think about, okay, when I worked at Johnson & Johnson, who are all the people that I remember from there? And all the, you know, it's like, who's in my neighborhood? I close my eyes. So I kind of go through those phases, and it's been really cool because, you know, it's brought up people that I forgot. And then I go and I find them on LinkedIn if they're not on Facebook. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot about this person I knew at J&J. But it's that power of writing it down, like Eric Worre tells us to, I think is so huge. And it's really helped me kind of reach back to connections that people I haven't seen in 20 years. I mean, I just enrolled a woman I worked with 20 years ago. She lives in California. I'm in North Carolina, but it was just because I remembered her when I was making my list, you know? So anyway, just.
And what did that do for you? I mean, on top of like enrolling her and adding her to your business, what was it like to reconnect to her? Like, did it add value to your life?
Well, and that's what I tell everybody when I'm talking to them that I reconnect with. I say, you know, this is why this company is so fun, because, you know, I'm helping people get healthy, but I'm getting to reconnect with people. And that's so fun. I mean, I just enrolled a sorority sister again, haven't seen her in 25 years. We talked on Saturday for an hour. Like, how fun is that? So it's such a, like you said, it's just so enriching to us personally to kind of go back in our past and reconnect with people.
Yes, seriously. Thank you so much. And I feel your energy when you're speaking. So I can tell when you reconnect with people, it's like they really feel your genuine want and desire to connect with them, not just to, hey, I'm going through my list, I'm trying to build my business, I want you to make me rich, will you please join up, right? So, you know, there's a difference. And did you guys feel the difference in her voice? That was really awesome. Thank you, Laura. And just to get into a tiny bit of the psychology of why writing it down helps, I mean, we have all of these neurotransmitters in our brain. So basically we actually have electricity firing in our brain, and every time we do something, so if I have a thought, something fires. If I see a picture, something fires. If I smell a smell, something fires. If I write something down, that's just one more thing that's firing at the same time. So I'm thinking of this person's name and I'm writing it down. I actually have 2 or maybe more neural pathways firing at the same time, which increases the power of that neural pathway. So it increases the energy that your brain gives when you're connecting to the connection. If you're just doing one, and then it's trying to fight off this whole, but connecting to people, they're going to reject me. That one's the loud one. But when I'm actually in action and I'm doing these things and I'm writing it down, just firing more neural pathways at the same time, eventually I can get that one to be stronger than the one that's telling me that I don't like to connect, or I don't want to connect, or I don't want to call people. Does that make sense? So it's just actual psychology of why this stuff works. It's amazing. And we are natural connectors. We are born, we actually have to connect. If we don't connect with people, we don't function well in life. So it's, David Wood says at UAA, you were born to be a network marketer. I am a natural network marketer. And he teaches us that by little exercises that he does. And that's what this will do. Finding people that you know, writing down lists of people that you don't know, getting referrals. So we're running out of time, so I want to go through this. In this call that I posted, this podcast, it was Susan Sly and Jeff Combs. And Susan Sly, at the very end, kind of went through what she says to people when she's connecting. So Eric Worre is like, first when you're making a phone call or you're on Facebook and you're contacting someone, you tell them how you know them, or you remind them how you know them or why you're connecting them. So if it's somebody that somebody refers you to, then you say, I got your name from so-and-so, they think you might be interested, so that they know why you're calling them right off the bat. And they're not like, who are you and how did you get my name? You just answer that question. But if it's a list of people that you made, from people that you know or that you remember from your life, Susan Sly says, I made a list of people that I really like, respect, and admire, and you are on that list. I would love to share with you a project that I'm working on over the next 90 days. If I sent you a quick video, would you be willing to watch it? So that's where you were saying, Lara, about using the tools and sending those tools out. Your goal is to get somebody to look at IsaGenics. That's your first goal. So we do need to connect with people on a real level. We don't want them to feel like they're just a to-do list or a dollar sign in our eyes. That doesn't ever help. And we do really want to connect. Like Lara was saying, it's so much fun to reconnect with these people. And if we're doing it as an income-producing activity, in order to check it off as an income-producing activity, the goal is to get them to look. And then with the follow-up, you ask them questions. I'll go into those next time. Let's see, what else was there? Just getting in the habit, when you're in a conversation, should you say that? Then you want to be the one that's listening. When I think a lot of the fear is I don't know what to say, and I get so nervous that I say too much, and then I just ruin the whole thing. So when we get into the mindset that I'm making a phone call so that I can listen to them and I can know what it is they're looking for, when I know what I want, what they want, that really can help us release the anxiety of knowing what to say, because we're just asking really good questions. So, you're following up. What was it about that video that spoke to you? What is it that you're looking for in your health, your wealth, or your finances? That kind of, and just asking, and then listening. And when you listen to them, they know you care, you develop compassion, you form a connection, and you also can address their problem instead of saying, IsaGenics does blah, 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 and just giving the whole spiel. You listen and like, oh my goodness, they're telling you that I just need an extra $200 a month so that I can, pay my car payment without stressing out. Then you say, well, I have a solution, and you go and tell them that part of IsaGenics or whatever it is. So learning to listen. If you listen to that podcast, that will really help you. If you don't have time to listen to the podcast, we're going to get into that more next call. So I'm going to give you, this is going to be homework every day for you. And it's not really homework, but this is a kind of a checklist of how do I know that I'm ready to make my contacts? Because honestly, if we go out to connect with people, or even if we're on Facebook and we're not in the right feel, if we haven't connected to our voice, if we don't feel confident, then people are going to know that. They're going to feel it. And that's how we're going to show up. And do you want to work with someone that's promising success if you can tell that they don't believe it? If they don't feel confident, do you want them to be your leader? So if you're showing up with this doubt, and you're trying to convince somebody, they're going to get the doubt more than your words. They're not going to hear your words. So this is how I check in with myself with everything that I do with Isagenix. Ask yourself these questions every time at the beginning of your business time, when you're really getting into your income producing activities. How am I feeling about myself right now? And that's not going to change overnight. If you have doubts and insecurities and stuff about yourself, we're going to work on that. However, Tony Robbins and a lot of other people tell us things that we can do to change our state right now. And those are in, different power moves, maybe there's a song that really speaks to you and gets you in a good mood, because we're not always, there are times that we're happy and that we laugh. There may be less of those than being depressed. I don't know. However, we all have times when we at least remember being happy. So what is it that gets you happy, that gets you in high energy, that gets you excited? Tap into that before you start going. And I'm going to give you, as part of your homework, something that will help with that as well. But for me, I found that if I have a confidence playlist, so I plug that in, I get it in my ears, I get the song stuck in my head, and now I even, move to the music. I get in a really excited state, and then I give myself some positive affirmations. That gets me in a good feeling about who I am right now. The next thing is, am I open? Am I open to listening to people instead of trying to talk to them? Am I feeling open? Am I going to listen to inspiration on who to talk to or what to say? That kind of a thing. Am I feeling open? And the way you can check that, how are my arms? Are my arms folded? Am I closed off? Am I hunched over? If you need to get open, just open yourself up. This is something that I have to work on every single day. And several times during a conversation, if I notice my arms are crossed, I open them up, because it's a real physiological thing. So open your arms. Stand with your shoulders back. Stand with confidence. If you're hunched over, you're not open. Okay? So pay attention to all of that. Then you're going to ask, what is my intention? Why am I doing this? Is it a to-do list? Okay, now it's business time. Now I'm going to make my calls because it's a to-do list? Or why is the reason you're calling? Why are you doing it? Tap back into your why. What's my intention? My intention today is to connect and to share a video with 10 people, with 2 people, with 3 people, whatever it is. What is your intention? And when you know what that is, then you'll be able to work with intention and getting that to happen, instead of just helter-skelter, just doing activities because someone said I should. Does that make sense? Then C, is my space clear? Is my office desk cleaned off? Can I concentrate, or am I in so much clutter and chaos? Maybe I need to go outside. Maybe I need to find a space that's clear. Is my mind clear? Am I thinking about other things, or am I thinking about my intention in my business right now? Is my energy clear? Is there something that's bringing me down? Then revisit V. Get it back in your energy. Get excited. Get that energy out. Set your timer, wallow in it for 10 minutes, and then get started. Whatever it is you need to do, but clear your energy so that you're feeling amazing. And we all can do that at least for a little bit of time a day, right? And the more you do it, the longer you can hold it, honestly. And then E, what does confident to me look like? If you think of somebody that's confident, or when have there been times in your life when you have been confident, or when you felt powerful, or you felt like a leader? Get into that and stand that way if that's what it is. Amy Cuddy has a TED Talk that she talks about. If people go in for a job interview and they sit like closed up, then they don't do well in the interview. If they sit in a confident pose, whatever that is, so what does a confident me look like? And then just be that. That's one of the things I used to wish, that I could be confident. And I always wondered what it felt like to be confident. And then one day it just hit me. I get to decide what it feels like to be confident. So what does that mean to me? And I was going to speak, and I was being all nervous, and I was feeling like, oh, do they really want to hear what I have to say? And then I made that stop, and I'm like, no, stand up, be tall, walk out there with intention, and be confident. And it made all the difference. So what does confident look like to you? And if you don't know, think about it. Who looks confident to you? Or when have you felt confident? Connect with that, and then do that, and then do your income producing activities. So this is something, I'll post this in the group, but this is something that I believe should be at the beginning of all of your business time, making sure you're in that right space. Get into state. And this is how I use it. I use the voice checklist. Then here's your homework. And if you have questions about it, I'll post the homework. If you have questions, then post your questions, or you can message me or whatever. But you're going to create your ISA calendar, not Susan Sliza ISA calendar, not Kathy Coover's, not Heather's, yours. What is block, like we said earlier, block off your non-negotiable time, your personal time, your family time. Don't even let those get into your business time. Find what's left over and then figure out when you're going to work your business, and then make that non-negotiable as well. And then you're going to write 25 I am statements. And there's a worksheet that I'll post in the group. I'll show you what it looks like. I have it already pulled up. Let me find it right here. This worksheet is actually going to use those core values that you, from the worksheet before. You're going to take those 5 core values, and for each core value, you're going to write an I am statement that goes along with that. So if a core value to you is connection, then I am friendly, I am helpful, whatever it is that to you speaks that value to you, and create those I am statements. And they don't have to be exactly in that, but just use those as a guide, because you're going to write 25 I am statements. Then those are going to be something that you're going to allow yourself to read out loud to yourself every day. Then you're going to find your power move, your confidence stance. You're going to clear your office space, and then you're going to write your list of 100 people. And the last thing is, there's this template I will also post of your 30-second story. Because as you're listening to people, and we'll go over this more, we're running out of time and I didn't plan to do it perfectly today anyway. But as you're listening to people's problems, you know, you're listening to them talk and you're figuring out what problems they have that you have a solution for, then you create a 30-second story ahead of time that addresses that problem. It allows you to be free about what you say back. And so we learned this at UAA. If anybody's been to a UAA, if you haven't, I'm going to be incorporating some of that into this training. But like, you're going to think about all of the stories that you've had with Isagenix. So your health story, what are all the ways that it's helped your health? What are all the ways that it's helped your wealth? And if it hasn't yet, what are stories that you know of other people? But you're like, before Isagenix, I was blah, blah, blah. I was introduced to Isagenix by this person. I've been on the products for this long. As a result, I'm now blah, blah, blah. And I believe and feel amazing, you know, and that's your story. It's just really fast. And so work on creating your 30-second story. If you feel like you have it, and this will be homework for next week, but if you want to get ahead of that, I'm going to have you actually do a video of you doing your 30-second story in the group. So just be aware of that. And so this worksheet kind of guides you through that process. Let's see if there's anything else on there before we go. Nope, that's it. So I want you to start creating your 30-second story. We'll get into that more next time, but just start at least writing out a list of what ways Isagenix has affected your life already. Let's see, from there, do we have any questions? Any comments before we go? Let's see, there's a chat here. Oh, okay. Nothing? No questions, comments, problems? All right, awesome. Thanks for joining. I'm excited about this group. I really feel like it's going to be powerful. You know what, the last thing that I wanted to do that I didn't list on here, but I will list on there, is I really would love for you guys to find an accountability partner. And it can be within this group or not. But if you guys communicate with each other within the group, finding an accountability partner so you have somebody to hold you accountable. Also, I've had a lot of questions about who can I call for 3-way calls. And maybe by communicating with each other in this group, you'll be able to find a couple of people that you can do 3-way calls with. Because that 3-way call, and we'll talk about that more too as we go along, there's power in having that 3-way call. And anyway, I've got to run, and I'm sorry that we went a little bit late, but thank you again for joining. I'll post all that homework in there, and just keep you aware of finding that accountability partner will be really awesome. All right, see you guys later. Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.